Okay, hey there guys, Sam here with you on Wednesday, October 17th. And today we ran a poll on Twitter. We polled the Twitter followers and let them decide what they'd like to see analysis on. And I suppose it's not a surprise here. Number one was Bitcoin. Number two will be Ripple. So that will be coming after I finish this video. So you can look for that as well. Just a reminder, give us a follow on Twitter if you're not already. We do on a fairly regular basis. We'll poll the Twitter followers, so that's a good place to communicate with us. We do have a full marketing department. We read whatever you send to us, good or bad. So just a suggestion there if you want to express an opinion on what you'd like to see get analysis here. So anyway, so let's get to it, right? So of course the real question is, what do we do about this Tether issue? And it's kind of the conundrum of crypto, right? So I did get a lot of feedback, I primarily here on YouTube, that the analysis of a couple of days ago was not valid because it was done on Bitfinex, which uses the Tether. I'm not sure I agree with that, but I would tell you that I mean, it's just the problem we have here because we don't have standardization. I'm not an advocate for centralization. Let's not confuse the two. But some standardization here, and until this gets resolved one way or another, this is what we have to work with, right? We've got multiple exchanges. So what can you do? Well, so one thought I had was, just coming in here, I'm over on, so this is a site that I use a lot. I like it a lot. I would suggest you consider it as something to at least check with periodically here. So I'm looking here at where the volume is. All right, so if all of the Tether trading is no longer valid, well, let's see how the market is responding to that. Well, if we look here, well, no surprise here. They're often, we've got the yen and the Korean won are number one here. But let's look here. What is it? So Tether. It's not till we get down here to Coinbase or GGDX, and then here's Bitfinex, right? But they're using the Tether equivalent. So, I mean, what do you do with that, right? So there's certainly no shortage of trading. The majority of the trading, right, as it relates to the dollar, is with the Tether. So another thought is, and my partner likes to use this site, members here will know that this was his suggestion as to how to deal with it. And whenever I'm in doubt, I go check with my favorite technician, happens to be my partner. Here's was his suggestion. This is another site. Here's a free site. Here it's called CoinSignals.trade, and they're going to use the coin market cap. So we're going to get an aggregate here. So they're going to average in all of the price action here. So here's that big wick with the Tether issue. So you look at that and you think, oh, okay, well that's some sort of weird anomaly in the market. So that's just a big wick. So that's meaningless. But you got to wonder, right? Was it technical? So if I just grab swing high to swing low here, and I showed you this on the last video here. So with 50, we get the crazy spike. But where does that crazy spike go? Right to the golden zone, right? So I'm not prepared to call that an invalid move. Now, it certainly screws up an Elliott count. Well, I shouldn't say it has the potential. There may be a count here. If we're going to get another kick here, we may have something we could call an impulsive structure here. But as of this moment in time, all we've done is come right back into the range. All right, so things are not random in the markets. Right? So the fact that we go into the golden zone, then we get this reaction. You can see the reaction here at the 50. So do you think maybe an algorithm kicked in there? Maybe, right? Or it could be random, right? If you want to think that, I'll let you carry on with that. So let's go look here now. So here's the longer term. So I'm going to do it on GGDX here, just to appease all of you who felt that it was invalid over on Bitfinex. But so we'll look at GGDX here. So here's our long trend. What have we done? So we had the little crazy wick, and now we're just right back into the range. So false break. Maybe. I'm not ready to go there just yet. Let's go down to a smaller time frame. So here it is. Here's GGDX on the 60 minutes. So here's this range that we've carved out. And all I did was just put a median lines on it, right? Nothing crazy. Swing low, swing high, right? We tag the median line. So here, now see, this is the issue, right? So here, it's perfectly technical. We're between the 50 and the 618, and we tag the median line. Almost looks like it went up just so they could get the median line before we get the pullback. So, what I suppose, it's a function of where you're trading, right? So I sincerely doubt, given the volume that we just looked at here, that everybody who was trading Bitcoin to the dollar on Bitfinex closed their accounts and moved away, went somewhere else. Clearly, the volume doesn't support that thinking. Or that anyone who was trading the dollar tether on Bitcoin to the dollar tether on Binance packed up and took their accounts somewhere else. Volume doesn't support that. Right, so what do you do with this difference that we have here? So it's a pretty dramatic difference, but again, it's technical, right? So that's the point I'm trying to make here. So let's go back over here to GDX. So let's assume that whatever we had happened there on Bitfinex, it's some sort of an anomaly, and let's look here. So again, this is a good example that I try and encourage you guys to think this way. Is there a count here? Yeah, right. But is there a count here that's helpful? Right. So I don't have a count on this because it's not helping me. So if I prioritize where I think the most value is, number one would be the fib swings, right? The algo trade. What did the algorithm do last? Number two, market geometry. Right? I've said this hundreds of times. Number three would be an Elliott Wave count. So is there a count here that is helpful, where we can create some probability zones? Well, if you've got one that's helping you, I'd be curious to see it, because there's nothing here that it's just a guess, right? Because it could be too many different things. So if it's not helping, why have it on the chart? Now, if we get something like this, right? If we get a move like this, and maybe we could put a count on this and say, well, maybe there's an impulsive 3 there. We're in some sort of congestion area, and we're going to get some sort of a 5-wave structure out of that. Well, then maybe. So maybe there's a case for something along these lines. Maybe that's a big 3. Some sort of a 4 is going in here. Although I'm not really prepared to suggest that we have an ABC in here yet. But let's just maybe something like that's underway. I'm not prepared to be a buyer just off of that right there by itself. Right? So first, that's not a very good looking 4th wave, even if I go down to a 15-minute. It's ABC, some sort of a triangle. It's kind of ugly. What do you do with that? It's not pretty. So maybe you make this case that there's some sort of a, it's just ugly. It's not enough to build a trade off of. Now, if you're just itching for a trade, I mean, I suppose you could take that trade. I wouldn't, and I'm always looking for opportunities to add in Bitcoin. There's just not enough there, right? This could just as easily come right back down, right? And we know the fact that so if we pull back out here, let me go back to the 60-minute. The fact that this algo held here and we hit the median line here, it's still very unclear as to where we're going next. All we can be definitive about is, well, we've had an attempt at some sort of a push to get out of this range, but was quickly rejected. Right? So we're right back, look at where we are, smack dab in the middle of the range, right back to the point of control. So what do we do with this? Well, until we get some movement of significance out of this, so maybe this is just recoiling. So we certainly have the possibility still remains, right? So we cannot eliminate this range here. Let me do it this way. So we've got this range here that has yet to be violated. So we know algorithms are selling in that range. So until that gets broken, you cannot discount that probability or that possibility. We've got to break the 65. And then you go, oh, wait a minute. It broke the 65 on Bitfinex. It broke the 65 on those other tethers. Well, really, again, you have sort of an unusual event. Is that enough to build a case for a trade off of? Not for me, at least. You know, shit, have it at it if you like it. But I just don't see. I think that's low probability. So that's a hopium trade, right? I hope it goes. It could go. Might go. Yeah. You could, you know, shit, have at it. But I'd certainly have a stop on it. So I just kind of come back here and say, you know, yeah, okay. So that was kind of exciting. But we're right back dab in the middle of the range, sitting at the point of control. So it's just a toss-up here as to which way this is going to go. Again, I would defer to the fact that we have 5 unresolved algo targets down here from the absolute peak. That's a lot of pull. That's a lot of pull on the market, right? Is there's continual defense. There's selling pressure. We come up, we threaten it. Selling pressure takes it back down. Get the crazy wick. Well, it goes right to the golden zone. Selling pressure brings it back down. Right? Nobody wants to see it go more than I do, but I don't think we have this foundation. Now, if we get this, if this comes up here and we get something like that, and we can break this 65, that would be significant. Right? Interesting how if it's going to push back up here, look where we're lining up. Now, it may hit here. We don't know. That's the thing about a median line, right? We've already tagged it once. So are we going back up again? Well, if we did go back up again, then maybe you have enough here to build a trade-off. Then maybe you could make the case that it was some sort of an ugly, well, we don't even know it's going to be a diagonal yet. Well, so far we haven't, if that's the one, we haven't violated the one. So maybe we get something along these lines. We get something here where I'll get this up here and we'll go, give me a second here. Okay, so maybe you've got something like that to set up, but I sure would wait to confirm that I'm going to get 5 coming out of the range. And I'd be looking for something very, very textbook, looking for that as my outcome. So here, let's get a move out of the range. Let's challenge this 65. Right? Can we break it? If we can break it, then at least we get an algo on our side. We could look here and you say, well, wait a minute, don't we have an algo now? Well, yeah, we do actually. So if we go from the swing low to swing low to swing high. Okay, if you can see that, let me zoom in here. All right, so here's the 50, here's the 618. So we did not even make the 618. So yeah, we have the potential now for buy-side algorithms to be working with us. Note where the target is, right up here. That would get us through the 65. All right, so we put this all back together. So if this is going to go, well, first we got to, boy, that is, remember, there's always an algo on the other side. So we have that potential, but you're going to have to deal with this, right? So if that's the swing low is going to hold here, and we're going to push up here, well, we got to get through these, right? So note what's right here. Push this off. So as we come up here, here's the top of the range, right? Here's the range that the market has carved out for itself. Right? We're just working off of these prior pivots. So we're coming up towards that range. You know there's going to be selling pressure there. That would actually set up better if this is some sort of an ABC. Maybe it's the 50. It's hard to say, right? So we don't know. We have to see what happens when we get there. This is a low probability environment. You have no advantage here as a buyer. There is just no pattern. There's nothing other than an attempted break that was quickly rejected. Okay, so let's see. Can we break this one? Let's do them one at a time. Can we break this 65? Can we break this 65? Then we got something to work with. Until then, you know, it's just a roll of the dice. It's just there's not enough to build off of, right? And with the bias still to the downside, with all those unrealized targets, I would just caution you from being overly aggressive here, just because of that pump that we had, for lack of a better description, right? Or this anomaly, right? But anomaly or not, you can't argue with the fact that it was technical. Whether we're looking here on GGDX, on Bitfinex, or using the coin market cap aggregate, right to the golden zone. That is, I promise you, that is not coincidence. All right, so we come back here, so we sit and we wait. We're still in this long trend. Now, even with that, we had the slightest little poke through it. But we're going to need to get through it, right? So what you really need, if you want to simplify, right, and this is just technical analysis 101. What we want to do is get through this and come back and test it and then get a push. That's what we're looking for, right? So this is a function of, let's try and put that together. Right? So let's think about it. From swing low, swing high. All right, so let's say we come up here, we reject the 618. And we push back down. We've got to retest this range. So this area here that again, the market is, all I'm doing is acknowledging the range the market has carved out for itself. We need to come back and test that range, which in effect would be a retest of our breakout and this trend line. Right? There's some, a couple of different ways you could draw it as to which pivot, because the pivots don't line up perfectly. Which pivot are you going to use? Right, I would defer to this one here. So, but what I'm watching here, I want to see a move out of the range and then a retest of the range. That will be the next opportunity to be a buyer where we have probabilities working for us. We will have broken at least this well, so if I open it up here, we will have broken at least one of the 65s. Right, so this is so if I pull here. Right, so here we're just sitting at the 50 on that move. We've got to get through this 65. You got to do them one at a time. Then we got to get through the next one. Right, this will be a big tell as to how it responds here. Do we get a pullback here to retest that range? There's the buy opportunity. Personally, I would wait until I see that. I want to see what happens here. What happens at the 50? Do we get through it? What happened? That's the tell. We get that, now we got something to work with. Until then, we're just back in a range. We're just right back where we started prior to all that excitement. Now, again, right, if you're keeping your eyes open and you're reading and you're paying attention to what's happening in the blockchain sphere, there's certainly a lot of things that are encouraging. I would propose to you that it's just a matter of when, not if. That's why I continue to stay long. Odds would suggest that at some point we're going to get a breakout here. Now, whether or not the retest holds remains to be seen, because that will be still sitting there, right? So if we go up here, tap the 50, it'll just be setting up for this move back down here, right? So there will be an algorithm. So note here, like, right, we got low volume node here, sitting right here at the 50, right? So if we come back, if we can get up here and test it, you cannot forget about the fact that is sitting there, just a straight algo play. All right, tested it once, rejected. We go back up. Second time, more probable that it breaks. Maybe we get to the 618 this time. But until that happens, this is just all unresolved. And there's certainly, boy, it's tough to get a count on it, that works. Again, can you get a count on it? Yeah. It's becomes an educated guess. And if it's not helping you, I go back where I started. Priorities. What first question? What did the algos do last? Second question: is there any market geometry that I can lean into? And then is there an Elliott count that's helpful to me? Well, if I get up here and I get this and I get a 4 into a 5, I get a new high here. Yeah, then it becomes helpful. Until then, this is more helpful. All right, guys, that's what I see. So make of it what you will. All right, we're right back in the range, sitting at the point of control. Maybe by Friday, we'll have an update here with some progress on this. All right, I remain optimistic, an optimistic bull, but a realist as a technician. It's not there yet. All right, guys, I'll be back with one more on Ripple to the dollar, which is it's getting interesting as well. Okay, back to you in a bit.